Seiya Suzuki coming back. What's that mean for the roster? Does that mean Hollywood Pete going back to the minor leagues or Miles Mastrobuoni? We're going to get into that. David Bote killing it in Iowa. Is this guy ever going to get another shot? I mean, they're paying him $5.5 million to play minor league baseball. Dansby Swanson's knee is barking at him. Is that why he hasn't produced? And could Iowa beat the White Sox in a baseball game? That's a serious question. I think they could. All that right here on the Cubs Baseball channel. Make sure you guys like and subscribe. Give us a thumbs up. We're closing in on 5,000 subscribers, and it's because of you guys. So let's get this thing started. If you're not part of what we're doing, be part of it. Hit the bell so you know when we drop new content, and let's get this party started. Go Cubs. What do you say, guys? Let me put him up. Boom. There he is. Anthony Pasquale. I'm Mick Gillispie at Broadcaster Mick at @_Pasquale3. We talk Cubs baseball with you guys right here on this channel, at least every day, sometimes more than every day. But Ant, good to see you. Let's just jump into this right now because I think people want to know this, and we're going to find the answer out maybe by the time some people are watching this video. When the Cubs activate Seiya Suzuki, who goes to AAA Iowa?
So I think it has to be Miles Mastrobuoni. And the reason why is because before Pete Crow Armstrong was even a thought on this roster, Mastrobuoni was sent down simply because he doesn't have a role on this team. Essentially, like that, there's nothing more to it. Now that Patrick Wisdom is back in the mix and despite not being great defensively, can play third base, can play first base, can play the outfield, Mastrobuoni doesn't give you much except a left-handed bat, but it's not like that left-handed bat rakes. He's an okay to below average hitter, where Pete Crow Armstrong has shown flashes of excitement. He's done what you've needed him to do. He gives you much more value in center field. And if there's any thought to easing Bellinger and Suzuki back into the lineup, Pete Crow Armstrong is a gold glove type of defender that you can put out in center field. Now, the issue with that is, when Suzuki is healthy, the Cubs will have Happ, Bellinger, and Suzuki in the outfield, and Mike Tauchman already as their fourth outfielder. Pete Crow Armstrong would then be their fifth outfielder, who also throws and hits lefty like Tauchman. So you can't really do platoon because both guys are lefty-lefty guys, as is Bellinger. So that creates a little bit of a blockage to Pete Crow Armstrong's at bats. Like if he was a righty, whenever they played a lefty, he'd be in there in center field.
Right.
But he's a lefty. So it's Tauchman and Bellinger who need to be in against righties and Pete Crow. So that might make it a little bit harder for him to get regular at bats. And that's probably the reason why he's under consideration to go back down to the minor leagues. But if you want to have your best 26 guys on the team, Pete Crow Armstrong is much better than Miles Mastrobuoni.
Yeah, look, I'm with you. I mean, he can run the bases. His defense is better than Bellinger, and it's not even close. And I think
Bellinger's a gold glover.
Bellinger plays good defense. Pete Crow Armstrong's elite. And you see it now. You know, when I was talking about this last year, people didn't really understand it. You know, like, oh, he lost the ball in the sun twice, you know, and it's like, dude, it's not losing the ball in the sun. It's his ability to get first an amazing jump and then secondly to shut the gaps down. He shuts the gaps down. Like he is in the spot where the ball is going to land and makes plays that other people just physically can't make. And that's why he's the best defender in all of the minor leagues. Now you're seeing it and the pitchers see it. I mean, how many good plays? And then he shows up and it's like, he's just making a regular catch on a ball that a lot of people don't even get to. Right. So that the base running, it does hurt him. You mentioned that he's a left-handed hitter with the way that this lineup's constructed, but Miles Mastrobuoni barely got back to the big leagues. I mean, it was Matt Mervis basically just not performing, which was disappointing. But
right,
I don't know when Matt Mervis is going to get another shot because He just didn't take advantage of the last 2 that he got. He just looks like he's so overwhelmed. I know he's a good player, but you still have to make that jump. You got to get there and then do it at that level so that people are like, oh, you can do it. You got to relax. And we've seen that with Hollywood Pete. So I'm not agreeing with you as far as is he going to stay or not. I'm agreeing with you that he should stay. I
Right.
just don't know what they're going to do with the roster.
I know.
There's a good chance that at some point today, he's back in the minor leagues. But if he goes back to the minor leagues, I think that's a mistake for the Cubs. There's just so many different things he can do for you. And Miles Mastrobuoni is just a guy. Pico Armstrong's really legitimately a super talent. And he's going to do nothing but get better and help you win.
Yeah, exactly. And I think him growing at the major league level while this team tries to compete for a division could only help him.
Yeah. I mean, and that's it. I mean, I've heard people that'll argue and they'll be like, well, he needs more bats in the minor leagues, talking about whatever guy, right? If he was in the minor leagues, he's doing this and that. They have created a system now where the minor leagues and the major leagues have this huge gap. And because of that, because you got rid of the teams, because, Major League Baseball is such an advanced game compared to the minor leagues, I don't necessarily agree with that. I think being there, seeing the pitching, understanding what you're doing every day, going through the processes for a guy like him is only going to make him better at the big league level. I don't think going and getting minor league at bats really matters to me.
Yeah, you mentioned it there, like, just watching the way big leaguers go about their work can only help. Like,
Yeah.
watching Dansby show up to the yard every day and take ground balls, even though he's one of the best shortstops on the planet, or watching Bellinger take hacks and just talking to these guys about different pitchers and things like that. And the other thing, especially if he's the 5th outfielder, Craig Counsell is only gonna put him in spots to succeed. He's only gonna face righties. He's only gonna come in late in games and play good defense. He might come in as a pinch runner, and that might be what his role is for a year or two, but that could only help him expand his role at the big league level.
Yeah, right. I like Bellinger at DH. I mean, he's coming off of cracked ribs, right? Fractured ribs.
Sure.
And I like Pete Crow Armstrong better defensively anyway. So maybe that's a spot where you put him in. I like Mike Tauchman in that spot as well, right?
Yeah, Talkman's done more than enough to earn regular playing time as well. So
He's been
that's the
great.
challenging part because he's also a lefty. But I think both guys have made enough of a statement to say, "Hey, we're part of this team."
Yeah, no doubt. No doubt. How about this guy? What's been surprising to me, Ant, is that David Bote is getting paid $5.5 million to play for Iowa. I mean, at some point, don't you give him a shot? I mean, is Miles Mastrobuoni that much better where you're like, okay, well, we're going to make a call and we're not going to let Bote be the guy? Couple more home runs. Everybody's just kind of really puzzled by this. At some point, had a great spring training. We know what he can do. We know what he can't do. But at the same time, you're paying him.
Yeah, he's making $5 million a year to essentially rot in Iowa. But you think about Bote, 2 homers yesterday for Iowa, 4 hits the day before that. He's red hot. You cannot tell me with a straight face that he doesn't give your ball club a better chance to win than not only Miles Mastrobuoni, but also Nick Madrigal. Surprise, David Bote can hit the ball in the air. I don't even think Nick Madrigal knows how to do that. So it's one of those things like, is Nick Madrigal that good defensively at third base that you're not willing to let Bote play at third? Like, when Bote first stepped in for Chris Bryant, he was making unbelievable plays at third. I don't know what his metrics are, but the eye test tells me he's a pretty good third baseman. And Bote also has a little bit of second and short, so he takes that. He's got a stronger arm than both Mastrobuoni and Madrigal. So plus he's hitting, and the other 2 guys aren't hitting, and the rest of this Cubs team right now isn't hitting. You could always take a hitter.
Yeah, right. And besides that, I mean, you're paying him already. Like,
Yeah.
You didn't give him a shot last year, and then now you're not giving him a shot this year. I don't understand this. Honestly, I just don't. I mean, it's not like Bote goes out there and he's an, he doesn't feel this position. Is he a superstar? No, but you know what? He's a pretty good player.
Yeah.
I thought he had a chance during spring training. I thought, well, maybe with Craig Counsell being there, it was a David Ross thing, but maybe it's not. I don't know. He's and knowing him since he came up, I'm glad that the guy has, I would say, wealth now from playing baseball, right? I mean, he's made what, like $15 million playing ball.
Yeah.
For him, it's not, what he wanted. I mean, he'd love to be in the big leagues all the time, but Cubs signed the deal. And then I feel like he's one of these guys that after this contract, he's going to sign, he's going to get paid a lot less, and he's going to go somewhere and be a really good role player. And everyone's going to be like, why didn't we use him? Well, because I don't know. It's like we're angry about the contract, so we're not going to put him in the big leagues. That's kind of how it feels to me. I don't. It's not like Miles Mastrobuoni. I mean, one bat's left, one bat's right. I don't understand what the difference is. Miles plays maybe a little bit better defensively at shortstop, but it's not like he's an everyday shortstop. Bote can play second and third, and he's serviceable. He could play some outfield if you needed him to, and you're paying him $5.5 million. I mean, think about that. Would you like to have $5.5 million?
Absolutely. And if I didn't have
I
to
would.
worry about the pressure of playing at Wrigley Field, it'd be even easier. But they signed him for a reason. Like, you don't give him, was it 5 years, $3 million per year or whatever it is? Or no, five million a year for however long. And like, you don't give that to a guy unless you think he could provide some value long term. Now, the issue with putting him on the roster is he's not on the 40-man. So someone would have to get designated for assignment, which there's not really a good candidate for unless it is Mastrobuoni. But I think the Cubs do see enough value in him where they would like to keep him in Iowa, if not at all. He does have a little bit of speed and some versatility, like you mentioned, and he's a lefty. But I mean, Bote, I almost feel bad for the guy. Like, it seems like, especially with how well he's hitting, it seems like the Cubs have told him there is nothing you can do that could get you back to the big leagues, which is just, it's a sucky situation at that point.
Yeah, look, I totally feel that. And with the Cubs, it seems like, not just with the way that guys play on the field, but the entire thing. There's just like this mountain that we create sometimes. And it's like, hey, if you don't climb this mountain, you're not going to be part of what we're doing,
Yeah.
whether at every level. And I just want to say, like, I'll just leave that there. But how about this? Dansby Swanson, who we talked about yesterday here, he and Ian Happ have just not lived up to the fact that they both have good contracts. They're both supposed to be star players. They just haven't played like star players. They've been in the lineup every day because they have the big contracts, but they haven't produced. And what Craig Counsell talked about was that Dansby Swanson's dealing with a knee injury.
Yeah, and we've seen Hap deal with some injuries already this season. These are your two, leaders on your team, and it's a good thing for them to be um, setting the example by going out and playing every day. But it's just at this point hurting the lineup to have both guys in there striking out twice a game and have that happen over a span of time when you don't have your top two hitters in, say, Suzuki and Cody Bellinger. So it's almost relieving to hear that he's not fully healthy and struggling. At least he's battling something and struggling, which means that once the knee gets better, that maybe the hitting would get better. But that's why he was off in the series finale against the Padres and enjoyed the off day yesterday, I'm sure. We don't know if he'll be in the lineup tonight, but that could be at least 48 to 54 hours off of it. Hopefully he comes back with a little bit of energy and can, obviously the leadership's been there and the effort's been there. It's just he's gotten a little bit unlucky, and then he's just been slumping. He's been missing the ball a lot, and hopefully maybe you can get some of your rhythm back or your timing back with a fully healthy knee, and you can go into this next road trip and then the next homestand, hopefully get hot at the plate. I'm pulling for him.
Look, I like him. I've talked about that. I mean, I get it. Like, I see what he does.
Mm-hmm.
He's a leader. He's good defensively, runs the bases. He means a lot to the team. But if your knee's barking, go on the IL and let's bring Luis Vasquez up and let him play shortstop. You know what I mean? Like, if you're going to be out there like at the end of last season, you remember at the end of last season and you're out every time, you're not helping the team.
Yeah.
If you're hurt, go on the IL, rest and come back and be healthy. I mean, you're not Chipper Jones. I'm sorry to say that. And I like Dansby, but you're not Chipper Jones. Like 20% less of you is a player that doesn't contribute a whole lot. Right.
Yeah.
And I get it. Like the way that those Braves teams were built, it was like, hey, you go out there, if you're at 80%, you're still better than what we have at, 100%. That's not the case with you, Dansby. You're a good player when you're healthy. But one of the reasons the Cubs didn't make the playoffs last year is the guy was awful down the stretch.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not saying I don't like him, and I'm not saying I want him to be gone. I'm just saying, like, if you're hurt, if your knee's barking and you're talking about it, spend 15 days on the IL. Let's bring up Luis Vasquez, who can make all the same plays as you, and maybe he jumps into a couple pitches because he can bat 100 too, right?
Yeah.
I mean, that's the bottom line. It's like he's not Cal Ripken. He's not Derek Jeter. I know he's paid more than those guys at this point, but he's not. And it's so frustrating to me. Don't go in the press conference and start telling me about somebody being hurt. Put him on the IL. This organization has the players to slide in there and take that spot and give you 15 days or 10 days or whatever it is of excellent play, and we can win without you. That's why the Cubs are dangerous, because you were without Steele, you were without Bellinger, you were without Suzuki. How many games did you lose in the standings?
You became tied for first place.
That's my point. And you got all these guys in the minor leagues, and Luis Vasquez, honestly, defensively, is right there with Dansby Swanson. And I'm sure a lot of people watching right now are going, well, I don't know this guy. Never seen him. What are you talking about, Mick? Just wait. Wait until they put him in. You'll see. Let the guy play shortstop. But batting 100 and being out every single time is not helping. At least Ian Happ's walking, right? And I know he's been injured. I mean, we talked about it, right? He didn't even play any spring training because he was injured. The thing that I'm frustrated about is, and I know everybody's worried about losing their position. Look, if I was Cody Bellinger and I had to watch Pete Crow Armstrong cover probably, 20% more ground than me while I was on the IL, I'd be a little concerned. Like, hey, man, they're paying me a lot of money, but I'm watching this kid run around and make all these plays. He's not as good at the plate yet, but he's better defensively. I'm going to hurry to get back. That's what competition creates. And if Dansby Swanson's knee's hurt, don't tell me about it in a press conference. Put him on the IL. Let's get Luis Vasquez up here and let's roll with that.
Yeah, and even if the Cubs are a little shy to pull the trigger on Luis Vasquez, they have a potential Gold Glove shortstop right there at second base.
Yeah, right, with Nico.
Just move Nico Hoerner to short and give yourself 10 days of Madrigal and Mastrobuoni platooning at second, and then see how fast you get rid of those guys.
You could do that too.
You could do that easily, or even like we were just mentioning, Bote. Like if Swanson went on the IL, maybe that's a guy you bring up and see what he can do while Swanson's injured. But Hoerner could play shortstop just as good as Dansby's probably a little bit better, but Hoerner's more than serviceable. I think he was a finalist for the Gold Glove the year that he did play short, and what was that, 2021? Mm-hmm. So you look at this team, and you're right. That's the part that's dangerous. Everybody always talks about the Cubs saying, oh, they have no stars. They have no superstars. Yeah, that's what makes us dangerous. We could have anybody out for 2 weeks, and we're not going to be worse because of that.
And that's what makes great teams.
Exactly.
It makes great teams. Like, you're right. Like, Luis Vasquez, I've seen them all. Luis Vasquez is better at shortstop than Nico. I'm just telling you. Like, Nico's not bad. Like, he can play the position, and he's solid. Vasquez is better. Range-wise, Vasquez is better than Dansby. Now, Dansby knows the hitters. He knows where to position himself. He's pretty automatic, whatever. I love him out there too. But what I'm saying is, if your knee's hurting, let's bring the next guy up. You rest, come back healthy. With the strength of the Cubs right now is that the organization has a lot of great young players.
Yeah.
Let's use them. Let's use them. And because we're not going to, you batting 120 is not going to, it's not like you're doing anything but striking out and grounding out. Like Vasquez may, he may get hot and he may just run into a couple of home runs.
Right, and what's like the big worry that Vasquez comes and plays great, and then you bring Swanson back, and then what happens? You have to get rid of Nick Madrigal. That makes your team better. You
Right,
know what I
or
mean?
he
Like,
struggles or he struggles. I mean, but what is he gonna go 0 for everything? To get worse
exactly.
than what Dansby is right now, you'd have to go every game without a hit.
And
Is that fair
it's
to
one of
say?
those. Yeah, I mean, it is. It's what it's been for the last few weeks, and it's one of those things that you take a guy like Vasquez and you put him in, and if he forces the Cubs to keep him in the major leagues, like what Pete Crow Armstrong sort of did with Bellinger hurt, then you send down one of your worst players and you stay as a stronger team. And
That's
that's not a bad thing. If
mm,
Vasquez has to come off the bench for you, but he's a better player than Miles Mastroboni, that makes your team better.
yeah. The problem the Cubs have is that there's always they always have to go out and get the high name it always has to be the big name. But sometimes the big name is sitting right there. It's just that no one knows that that is the big name yet, right?
Yeah.
And eventually Owen Casey's going to be the big name,
Right.
and Luis Vasquez is going to be a big name. And this organization has those guys in Iowa, and they're ready to go. With that said, Ant, look at this. You put this up here. This wasn't mine. You put it up.
Yeah.
Could
So,
Iowa beat the White Sox? And I'm going to tell you right now, the answer is yes, because the White Sox suck and the Cubs Iowa team really good. I mean, like the pitching, because of all the injuries, I mean, a lot of their best pitchers are, it would depend on who they pitched, but it's not like the Chicago White Sox are that much better than the Iowa Cubs.
listen to this. This is the White Sox lineup yesterday against the Cleveland Guardians, and then the Iowa Cubs lineup against the Columbus Clippers. I'm going to do the White Sox first. Tommy Pham, Gavin Sheets, Andrew Vaughn, Eloy Jimenez, Andrew Benintendi, Brian Ramos, Paul DeYoung, Nicky Lopez, and Martin Maldonado. That was the Sox lineup yesterday. Here's the Cubs lineup, the Iowa Cubs. David Peralta, Seiya Suzuki. Obviously, he's a big leaguer. He's on his rehab assignment, but he's in the lineup, so I'm mentioning him. Matt Mervis, Alexander Canario, Owen Casey, Luis Vasquez, David Bote, Ali Sanchez, Jake Slaughter, and Thomas Pannone. That team could beat a major league team. And this isn't just because this is a Cubs show and the
No.
White Sox are a rival. We picked them because they're the worst team in baseball, and I think the Cubs have the best AAA team in baseball. That's why.
They have one of the better AAA teams for sure.
Exactly.
You
And
know?
it's filled with guys who have big league experience or are knocking on the door. And the White Sox roster is filled with guys who probably should be in the minor leagues.
Right. The White Sox organization made a bunch of mistakes drafting and developing. And honestly, I think Chris Getz is going to get it turned around. I like Chris, and I think that he's going to he knows what's going on. He was there. He was probably watching some of these things that they would do and go, what are we doing here? But right now, it's all about, look, we got Dylan Cease. I mean, he shoved on the Cubs the other day. Like, he could have had a no-hitter. Like, you know what? They're going to find their best players, and they're going to trade them for talent. If they had anybody in the bullpen, the Cubs might trade them some of those guys from Iowa.
Yeah.
Some help. If we never – I feel bad. I don't want to say any names, but there's a few guys that if we never saw them again, I don't think anybody would ever forget them. Remember them and would love to forget them, right? So you know what I mean. Like, you get what I'm saying. So the White Sox aren't great, and they are going to try to build from within the organization, and the Cubs have some players. Owen Casey, every time there's a rehab, the guy hits a bunch of home runs. So it's like, oh, Kyle Hendricks pitched today, and Owen Casey hit 3 home runs. Like, it's, like he's showing everyone, like,
Or even
next time Seiya Suzuki's hamstrings act up, he's never getting back in the lineup, because the minute I get the right field, he's going to be Wally Pipp. That is what you want in your organization.
and it can only make your team from top to bottom stronger, which is
That's
how
what it
you
is.
go and win in the playoffs. Like,
That's right.
you look at the Dodgers, and I know they haven't won a lot of World Series, but they're there almost every year, and it's because whenever somebody gets hurt, they bring up this guy. This guy is out of this world good, and then when they bring back the guy from the injured list, the 26th man goes down. Both guys stay on the team, and they get better. And that's what just keeps happening for the Dodgers. And maybe not anymore that they're really blocked, but Michael Busch would have been that type of guy, and now
Glad
he's
we
on
got him.
our team. So
Glad we got him.
now we have an opportunity to do that and just continue to get better and better and better.
All right, so here you got another one. Kyle Hendricks pitching again on Sunday in Iowa. That means Hayden Wesneski stays in the rotation. Hendricks looked like he was starting to figure things out when he pitched for the Smokies in a rehab. Had a really decent outing for Iowa. It feels like a couple of things are at work here. First off, I'm not 100% sure that he really has a back issue. It may be more of I've got an issue figuring out how to pitch at this age with the stuff that I have, which I think he's going to figure out. I'm not taking a shot at him. I just
Right.
feel like I don't know that. I mean, I'm questioning, but maybe his back was tweaked a little bit. I think this is more of I'm getting older. I don't throw hard. I've got to figure out how to do it. Jamie Moyer did this a bunch. I know he was left-handed, but Kyle Hendricks is the same type of pitcher. He could go another 15 years doing what he's doing.
Yeah.
Right. But with that said, this I've said this before and I'm going to say it again, and I love him. He doesn't belong in the rotation. He's the 7th or 8th best guy. You cannot take Javier Assad out of this rotation. And honestly, Hayden Wesneski has been just absolutely dynamite. He didn't win the other day, but he gave you everything that you needed. If the offense had done anything, could have been a much different ball game. He's got to be in there, right? So we're and Jameson Tyone's been good. This is the Jameson Tyone that we wanted last year. We're getting it now. Shota Imanaga, maybe the best pitcher in baseball, right? He's been great. So, I mean, you're starting to go through and you're like, man, this team, now you got Justin Steele back. What's going to happen with, you mentioned that maybe Jordan Wicks ends up in the bullpen. I'm not disagreeing with that because now you got these other guys that are starting, but Hendricks is not going to be a starter when he comes back. I'm just throwing that out there.
Yeah, he can't because you just mentioned those 5 guys in the rotation as it currently stands. You've got Jordan Wicks that when he's healthy has been better than Hendricks this season, so he's a guy that needs to deserve a starting spot before Hendricks. And then Ben Brown has been solid as a starter I would slot above Hendricks. So at best, he's your 8th best starting pitcher, which means he shouldn't be in your starting rotation. But I do think he has value to this team. I think he can provide value if he can get some outs once he's fully healthy, and the Cubs feel confident in that. So I'm not closing the door on Hendricks coming back to the Cubs in 2024. I'm just currently closing the door on him being a starter right now.
That's it. I'm with you too. I think that he goes to the bullpen. All right, let me say this to you guys. Throw it up there. We talked with Kevin Alcantara, posted that interview yesterday. Check it out. This could be a guy that gets traded. I mean, like if you're going out and making deals, he's another outfield prospect. The Cubs got him for Anthony Rizzo. He's in Double-A. He's a top, I think he's a top 60 prospect, right? They have him at number 57. Power, speed, aggressiveness. He just has star written all over him. I mean, he is a legitimate, really awesome player. And we talked to him. We've talked to some of the best prospects, Cade Horton, Matt Shaw, Kevin Alcantara will continue to do that. So check that out. That was posted yesterday. I'm talking about prospects. I'm excited about this.
Yeah, we touched on it.
Yeah, I want you to tell me about it. I talked about it yesterday. Paul Skeens making his debut against the Cubs at PNC Park Saturday. The dude throws like 102.
Yeah, and that's like his lowest that he'll throw. Like he's going to be living above 100. We talked about it a little bit yesterday. He's got to be the most anticipated prospect debut since Steven Strasburg, and his debut was electric. Honestly, I'm a little bit upset that it's going to be against the Cubs because I would love to just turn it on and watch him deal. Instead, I have to root for him to get shellacked a little bit, but he's going to be a big leaguer for a really long time. He was blowing away the minor leaguers and forcing the Pirates to put him up in the big leagues. They were trying to pitch count, they're trying to innings count, and he was just eating through every level of every level of hitting that he faced. So I'm excited. He's going to have a long big league career. It's great for the Pirates. It's great for baseball. He's got a really famous girlfriend that I think will bring some eyes to baseball the way
Taylor Swift.
Yeah, similar to that brought some eyes to football. Maybe not as extreme because Taylor Swift is a juggernaut in the celebrity industry, but so we'll see. I'm excited for it. I will say he's got a mustache like me, so he's part of the club. So I can't hate him too much, but I'm hoping the Cubs hand him his first L.
Cubs and Pirates, 5:40 Central Time tonight from PNC Park. And one final thing I want to say too, man, is watching Rhino go through chemo on his Instagram, knowing that the statue's coming on June 23rd, which I'm really thinking about coming to the game to be part of. Guys, keep praying for Rhino. Keep thinking about Rhino. Put him in your prayers and your thoughts, sending him out there because I love Rhino, man. I mean, not just as a player, but as a person and what he means to the Cubs. And you guys feel the same way. The guy's fighting. He's lost all his hair, but he's doing everything that they're asking him to do. We're seeing it every day. And I'm just hoping for a miracle. I mean, I'm hoping that he, basically shows everyone that, hey, he's going to beat this cancer and we're going to have many, many more years of Rhino. And then, of course, on June 23rd, the Rhino game date, they're going to unveil the statue. But just, I want Rhino to be like Fergie, where you just see him. He's like, you're like, how old are you? And he's like, you see, you know what I mean? Like, you just turn around and there's Fergie. Like, he's just been there forever. Like, so I'm hoping the same thing with Rhino, man. I love the guy and just want to make sure that we're all just continue to send that positive energy his way.
Yeah, I think he said on Instagram that he's finished with round 5 of chemo, starting round 6 soon, and
Wow.
I think that's the last round, and then it transfers to radiation, which is generally less tough on the body than chemo. Chemo is really what beats you up, and he's through 5-6 of that already, and he's doing it with so much grace, and he's doing it with so much positivity, and it's been awesome to watch. Fingers crossed, praying for him, and seems like he said on Instagram that the hard part might be over. So I hope that that's true and that we get to see him obviously June 23rd, but also at the ballpark before that. He's been getting out to some games and hopefully getting some health back as well along the way.
Got to spend a year with him, love him, and I got to tell you, he's a better person than he was a player. I mean, I think that's all you need to know about Rhino. So, guys, thanks for hanging out with us here on the Cubs Baseball channel. Like and subscribe. We're closing in we're right on the doorstep of 5,000 subscribers, which is crazy because we haven't had a channel for a year yet. So, to get to that mark, I mean, that's pretty impressive. We're like 10 away, less than 10 away. So maybe by the time you're watching this, we're celebrating a huge milestone. We're actually, we're not 10 away, but we're close. We're closing in on it, maybe 40 away. But if you guys all subscribe, maybe we'll get to 10 away. What I want to say, though, thank you guys for being part of this channel, helping us grow and talking Cubs baseball with us. Get in the comment section, as you always do, and go Cubs.
Go Cubs.